Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Metaworld News. Yes, this is Malbones, but this is another incarnation. Yes, about the fourth incarnation. I'm becoming a Doctor Who, aren't I? Regenerating for you every week,
We need
sort
the
of.
gold effects for when you regenerate.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll work on those for future regeneration.
Very good.
Anyway, you know the voice, if not the mugshot, so to speak. You can find me on Twitter too. I'm at twitter.com/Malburns, all one word, Malburns. And we have an additional feed for this show, which is twitter.com/MetaWorldNews. Again, two words squashed into one, as is the way of the web. Right. Joining me here is James Atloud. He's fiddling with all the knobs that represent our different camera angles and also broadcasting my desktop along with my avatar here. So you're getting a sort of mixed view of what on earth I'm talking about.
Indeed.
Until I enter the rabbit hole, in which case you might as well not have the pictures at all, really. Right, welcome, James.
Thank you, Mal.
Love that bit.
Just call me Fiddler.
Okay, yes. So there's Mr. Fiddler, and I must be the roof. Ha
Ha
ha.
ha ha.
Well, I knew there was a joke to do with this haircut. There we are.
I
He's
expect
the fiddler,
more.
and he's the fiddler, and he's cammed in on my roof.
Yep.
Right. Yes. Enough of that. Enough of that. I should have said that. You are now entering the sphere where you are about to hear the headlines for the week ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, December the 8th. The year is 2019, by the way, in case you are looking at this via the archives, as it were. Quick note before I move to the actual news. Over in the original sort of metaverse sort of place, Second Life, albeit a walled garden, there is some friends of ours run a show there called Designing Worlds. They've been at it for I don't know how long. um, Safia Widdishins and Albert Merlin, basically. It used to be called Print Perfect, and it was on yeah, SLCN, Synchronized Cable Network. Then they moved to Treat TV, which was the same company with a different name because Lindens didn't like them using Second Life in the name. And Print Perfect then became Designing Worlds. And then when Treat TV gave up their activities, Designing Worlds continued independently. And their archives, instead of being at Treat TV, moved to Slartist. Which is nice. All that's just incidental. Um, but what they've done actually recently is Designing Worlds have actually created a separate archive site on Vimeo to make available what we think will eventually be over 40 of their old shows. Actually, 40 is not many considering they're up to about 500, most of which have been unavailable on any channel for some years. Etc., etc. So I thought I'd actually mention that they still broadcast. The, they have seasons, you know, when they have showings at 2 p.m. Pacific on Mondays of a show that's been recorded sometime in the week before, basically.
Hmm.
I'm not quite sure how they do it now, um, but they have seasons, so sometimes they disappear for a while, then they come back for the new autumn season, then that lasts for 3 weeks, and then they're off again. But the shows when they do come up, at least, are actually very good. So I thought I would sort of mention that um, in um, in in passing that some of those shows are up on archive. Something else prompted me to talk about that, but I've forgotten what it was already. Right. Um, Moving to the main news, which you'll find at Malbones twitter.com/Malbones, or one word. That's where most of these links that I'm going to mention now can be found. And that will be necessary when we get to some of the longer roles, which I'm certainly not going to read out over the air. You wouldn't remember them even if I did. Right. The first post I've got up, and James has probably got a picture of it too, is vrfocus.com. That's VR, the letters, then focus, that's in focusing your eyes.com. All one word, vrfocus.com. And it all went dull for a second there, didn't it? Right. Um, this is literally December 2nd. So would that be yesterday or oh no, no,
No,
sorry.
no.
This is
Yeah.
the beginning. This is I got I'm the right way around this week, and I wasn't starting
Ah,
it early in the week. I'm moving from the past forward.
how quaint.
Article by Peter Graham about Litho's futuristic augmented reality controller now available for $200. It's a British startup. They're called Litho or well, one of those two, I'm sure, revealed its hard work idea for controlling and manipulating digital objects in the real world. An elegant device which sits between your index and middle fingers, as you see in the picture there. Designed for the growing trend in augmented reality, Litho initially began with a carefully selected beta program for interested developers, but now creators at the forefront of AR can access the hardware for 199 US dollars,
Hmm.
which is basically 200. I think this is sort of cheap. I knew there was another thing that vaguely related to TV, I suppose, a rabbit hole item, which I must resist talking about too much. I ordered some time ago. I've had it about a month now. One of these portal devices. Now
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't need any more pads displays, and I didn't really need another Alexa or Google, hub thing. Um, so I ordered the one that really sounded interesting, which was the one that plugs through an HDMI socket into your TV. Well, in terms of basically, it's a sensitive camera. So when you're in front of the camera follows you around the room, which is quite nice. Partly the tablet and the other things have the same kind of camera in them. It's just I like the idea of something that would plug into TV, so I could do video calls, late at night, lounging around in front of the TV. To friends, of course, since I'm
Mhm.
not normally wearing any clothes, for example. Right. Be careful on that one. It's useful. You can shut the camera off with a physical shutter just in case you're running around naked and you don't trust whatever. But the thing about this border device is it's made by Facebook.
Mhm.
I think it's really oh well, I suppose Oculus is a sort of Facebook hardware, isn't it?
Yes.
Um, and basically, especially the TV version, I can't. The only thing I can do with it is make video calls, watch TV with my friends, and a few augmented reality sort of games where you're sort of talking with a friend and there's a sort of AR thing in the middle of the two of you, or something like that. However, I can't ring any of my friends except via video calling them on Facebook Messenger.
Hmm.
I can't use Telegram, I can't use Slack, I can't use Skype or anything that I normally use. I've got to use Facebook Messenger. And guess what? If I want to watch video online, the only videos available are those in Facebook's video library. In other words, amateur videos your friends have posted on Facebook that are stored on Facebook rather than, say, YouTube. So I'm a bit pizzled off with that, especially as it's Facebook. You could, and oh yes, it does. It has an option to turn Alexa on. Oops. Oh, she didn't hear me. Thank
Oh,
goodness for
good.
that. Right. Um, I had that on. I thought, yes, another device, and unlike the Google ones, the nearest one to you answers, and it's intelligent. The Alexa devices are really damn dumb. Um, because this thing was plugged in to my TV and was on, getting power, it took over as a primary Alexa device. Yeah.
Ah.
So my normal Alexa devices were not ringing, telling me that it was a Skype call and stuff that it does. Even though I don't answer using Alexa, it's nice to have a voice saying, somebody's trying to get you on Skype or somebody's ringing your mobile. Um, and sure enough, it was telling me this, but because the portals um, incarnation of Alexa is on an HDMI stick plugged into a TV, I can't hear it unless I've got the TV on tuned to that channel. So the Alexa is as good as useless. I mean, if I want to use Alexa for TV, I use the Google Fire TV stick, which has a button you press, which is for a microphone, and you tell her what to do. So I would describe it, apart from the wonderful camera And it's not actually that high resolution, but it certainly feels very real as it follows you around the room. Apart from that, it's a big miss actually. And the reason I mention that is that that device, the HDMI version of the Portal, actually, for all its uselessness, costs more than this thing we're looking at now, this AR controller.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes, now you see the
Now
segue.
I see the
Now you see
connection.
the segue. Post rabbit hole segue.
All right.
Yes. 3D object manipulation becomes far easier for only $200. Now, I admit $200 is not, throwaway money, but when I consider the fact that your Oculus Goes and your
Oh yeah.
portal contraptions and all the rest of it, the prices they're going for and they do nothing, then this actually seems to me, it's probably as good a value as Leap Motion, to be honest. Leap Motions, when I think they're cheaper now, but when they came out, they were in that price range.
Hmm. I
Um,
just I just have to say, color me surprised that you bought another Facebook device.
Why? Yeah, oh God, I just, it's ridiculous. So I didn't think it was that expensive, and I thought, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't actually. I tend to avoid Facebook, although I do use Facebook Messenger.
Mm.
I don't use Facebook itself, but on the old Windows machine, along with Skype, I've got Facebook Messenger running. But the thing is, I only ever tend to get text messages and things from people who they're people who I don't know as avatars. They're real life people, if you see what I mean. And they
Mm-hmm.
message me, they use Facebook Messenger to send me questions and stuff. Do you know this or that or t'other, and vice versa. But they're not really. I don't know if there's anybody there I would normally have a video call with. It might come up, but then again, I can't just sit here and then ring them on video. I've got to go over and switch on the TV, then switch on the uh, right channel to which is to see the HDMI channel that is
Mm.
the portal is on. Then I've got to situate myself sort of comfortably, and then I've got to run around making sure. Because of the nature of this camera, there's no way I can just broadcast from the neck up, So I've got to make sure that I'm presentable for this camera that will follow me. Every, basically scans my whole body and then it centers myself on the whole body, not the face, and it follows you
Oh my.
it's a bit uncanny, but playing with it on your own, no problem.
Oh
But
sure. Yeah.
yeah, so unless I mean, admittedly, if I'm sitting there watching TV, I mean, I won't hear it ring, although I'll hear a notification on the PC. Um, so if it's somebody I really want a video call with, I might say, "Hang on a second, I'll call you back using my portal and then switch channels and do it." So it might have a use once in a blue moon, but it's just yet another gadget, and there's just too many of them really.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
if it could, if it cooperated with the other, if instead of Alexa it was Google Assistant, you can have 5 or 10 of them in the same place, and they all react in harmony. So they use the one nearest you. They don't collide, And but the fact that this took over from my main, nice bassy sounding Alexa. Anyway, so oh God, you've got me down the rabbit hole again. I
I
better
didn't
move
mean
on.
to.
I know you didn't. Just me. Okay, this device that we were talking about here, the AR controller, is brainchild of two high school friends who went and done it. One is now CEO, one is CTO. They wanted to advance spatial computing away from flat screens to smartphones and into the 3D realm where digital assets actually exist. The device runs on Bluetooth, low energy, offering gesture controls to build and manipulate 3D objects, while the underside has a touchpad for your thumb to add further input. It's constantly on and could be used for around 8 hours with a massive 2,000 hours of standby. Its diminutive frame is blah 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 blah. It's got a resonator and oh gosh, it's got golly what and all sorts of things. If you would like to know more about this, then you can go to VR Focus, and this is a very small thumbnail to you at home, obviously, but there you can see somebody working with it and using it while they're on their phone. So if you've got augmented reality apps on the phone and stuff like that, instead of having to touch the screen with your with your hand, which of course is a great thing about phones and pads, then you can use this sort of gadget. And as soon as I see one, I plan to get one of these, I think. Even though I'm not really in 3D much, headset land, its phone is still in your pocket and it can also be interact with your smart devices. So it sounds like another sort of plug-in, a bit like the watch. The only thing I'm not clear on is I presume this works with iPhones as well as Android phones. It's not very clear, to be honest. Here, yeah, oh yeah, unique in that it's cross-platform and output agnostic. So I guess is that the yes, that was it. While I'm at it, before I go on to the next link, I'm also going to load from where am I? From this. Oh, here we are. Yeah, this is Monday, 2nd of December. Maybe we watched this last week. I forget. But no harm in firing it up. YouTube.
Hey, so I saw some videos of you posted on Reddit, and I wanted to make another one just from my point of view, so
Yeah, I
you
don't
can
remember
just
this, Mal.
see what I see
Um,
when
this is
when I'm using it.
footage
Right now, I'm
from
using
a
the Meta
VR,
3, but
headset
this is the
VR world called
Pro
Neos
version, and I've
VR,
also got wireless
and
coverage, which kind of
this
oh,
is
it actually has
11
some
point
links.
full body
So
tracking plus eye tracking in Neos
pretty much everything you
VR.
can have right now
Initial
to
impressions
give you
after
the most
three
immersive
weeks.
experience possible. Um, well, to start, let me just show you the eye tracking. This is actually pretty cool. So it actually keeps track of like how much you open or close your eyes, and even let me show you the pupil dilation, which you can see there, which is pretty cool. I love that so much. And then of course it
Yeah.
has the screen
Wow.
recording, which is
Well, I'm not going to
super
give you
cool.
4 minutes of this guy, but you get the idea.
Anyways,
Um,
excuse me.
Obviously, that device we were just looking at that you wear on your hand could
Another
obviously
really cool thing is just
probably
how everything just kind of
connect
fits
in
once you adjust your avatar.
with this kind of
So in
thing
Neos, you're
too.
able to go through and adjust every little
Um,
bit of
this
how the
actually,
tracking is going to work.
okay, I'm going to dispose of that again. We'll come back to our eye tracking thing. Um, I'm a bit puzzled here because I did actually have another clip, and I've probably saved it somewhere else, which is not helpful, is it? Um, no, all I've got here is upload VRs weekly. Right. Okay. There was another video clip around somewhere which actually showed some design actually happening in the 3D space too. It may be linked to another clip coming up. So let me move on before we get really tied up in one place here. Okay, this is a post at the newyorker.com, www.newyorker, all one word.com, and of course it's the New Yorker, the magazine, taking virtual reality for a test drive. Um, Lots of talk about this article. Um, this is you get 3 articles a month here for the New Yorker. Otherwise, you have to subscribe. Basically, it's behind a paywall. Um, some little trick I came across, by the way, in the week, because Medium are like this too. Apparently, I don't know about New Yorker here, but apparently, if you want to read an article on Medium and it opens and tells you, "Hi, you read it lost," you're going to have to subscribe if you want to see anything else. um, Apparently, there's something about links from Twitter. If you get a referral from, somebody posts a link to a Medium article on Twitter, Medium senses this and disables the need for you to sign up for the paywall. So long as you follow links to Medium from Twitter, everything's free.
Oh, goodness.
Um, Interesting
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, you can if you find an article that it won't let you read, you can tweet it to your own account, then go to your own account, follow the link, and you get it free. Unfortunately, so does everybody else following your account, unless you've got a secret one to use or something. But there we go. Tips tips for the commercial age there. Anyway, this New Yorker article is, as you can see, just very extensive indeed. It's one of these occasional articles that comes up that is just so thoroughly going into stuff that. It's what the Guardian newspaper calls a long read, and they cover a lot of things like high fidelity here as well. Neil Stephenson's book, which is where the metaverse comes from, and quotes from Phil Rosedale, Dr. Lawrence Sachs at Stanford. Anyway, you can probably tell from the way I'm scrolling. We're nowhere near the bottom. Well, actually, yeah, we are. There's the bottom. It's also published in the print edition of December 9th of a New Yorker, where it has the headline "The Realer Real." Um, but the online article here has actually been updated. So if you're just into good reading material about virtual reality and stuff like that, excellent little article to read there, taking a virtual reality for a test drive, courtesy of NewYorker.com. Right, moving on. Here we are. Right. Somebody called Marina Abramovic. Who's she? You may ask. Well, I don't know really. She's an artist. Volumetric art piece heads for Christie's auction block after a debut using Magic Leap. So she created the art piece in Magic Leap, but now it's being auctioned at or her latest piece is called The Life, and this week it was auctioned at Christie's, where they're auctioning copies of The Life. I don't quite know. Well, it must be. Maybe it's on some kind of flash drive or something, or some kind of hard copy of the VR experience. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's not for sale. You have to go and auction. I mean, bid for it. Um, okay, it tells you a little bit about the artist and her use of her choice of thingamajig, Magic Leap to do it, and behind the scenes photos and stuff. Um, but I'm sure there are other things out there of a similar nature. I love seeing all these fancy art things coming up. But I think that one is probably unique so far in the sense that it's an auctionable item at Christie's. Where else can you you cough up your money and you bid, and maybe just maybe you get a copy of a virtual installation, um, and do with it whatever you do with it. Moving on, moving on. Okay, quite a lot of posts from Read Write Web this week. Well, they're called Read Write now. Uh, readwrite, or one word.com. That's it. They got sections on AI, blockchain, and all the stuff you can see at the side of that picture. This article from earlier in the week is about few industries will not be transformed by AR and VR. Um, and it doesn't really tell you which ones won't be. It just tells you which ones will be. Military, space industry, journalism, media, law enforcement, construction and trades, automobiles, sports, agriculture, energy, and ending thoughts. So that, as far as I know, is not an industry in itself. Yes. And yeah, the Ashwin Fairu is the author of that. So get that at readwrite.com. Also at readwrite.com, yes, I did just change pictures, but how AR and VR will enhance customer experience. And again, this is sort of, you can almost imagine the bullet points, can't you, on articles like this? Um, Going through the roles of elemental customer experience, customer reaching, testing of products virtually, real time feedback, utilization of products, a decrease in money frauds, user experience, and obligatory conclusion as well. You all well worth reading, and these are very short reads actually, but sort of you can see what they're doing. I'm actually even going to jump two ahead here because it's another read write one. Yes, this is quite good. It's a bit like a slideshow where the sidebar doesn't change. Right, how a modern gaming engine can supercharge your business. This really gets to the point actually. I often read about people saying, "Oh, virtual reality can do this, that, and for you," and whether they're talking about headset virtual reality or just virtual worlds online, like OpenSim and Second Life and Science Space and things. Um, but basically, these worlds are not games, but we often say that they have a shared lineage in terms of technology and graphics capabilities and all that with online games. if anything, online games are far more complex. I mean, a virtual world is far from not complex, but you've got voice channels, you've got graphics, you've got movement, everything else. But the functions when you take the game story, as it were, out of it are you know fairly simple compared to complex games. But what this article has pointed out is actually that when you're talking to people about the technology of virtual worlds and things, what you're really talking about is how they should use a modern gaming engine, because it's the engine behind all this that gets the thing running. Whether it's actually a game or whether it's a dedicated engine built by people like Lyndon Labs for Second Life, or whether it's the software code is, like OpenSim here is free to distribute and use. Basically, the whole setup, I mean, computer hardware comes into it too. But I mean, basically, you're talking about a game engine, running these kind of simulations. So, you know, when it's an engine, not a game. When it's not a game,
Hmm.
well, so that doesn't sound right, does it? But basically, it's called a game engine, but it's much more. Just as a game, Second Life may be called a game, but it's actually a lot more. OpenSim might even be called a game, but it's a lot more. A game engine may be called a game engine, but that doesn't mean it's just for gaming, if you see what I mean. So anyway, read right. This guy David Garnier, he got it right here because he just said it the obvious way. He doesn't say how virtual reality or virtual worlds can supercharge your business. He says how a modern gaming engine could do it. So anyway, yes, and yeah, a little roundup of various things you can do, things like virtual tours, training simulations, etc., etc. Okay, moving on, and this time, I think, yeah, three in a row from Read Right there. So there we go. Right, we're now on another site completely. We're on virtuality-news.net. So it's virtuality, two words is one, then a dash, and then news, and then .net. And yeah, all their pages say VR 360 at the top, so a bit different from the name of the website. Virtual and augmented reality market volatile but promising, warns CCS Insight. This is for people who like your facts and figures, not so much stats, but basically what the industry is saying. IDC's Worldwide Augmented and Virtual Reality Spending Guide predicted that the worldwide spending on AR and VR will reach 14.5 billion UK pound, by the way, in 2020. Now we haven't, we're not in 2020 yet, are we? Let alone the end of it.
Not quite.
So that is a projection, obviously, but that figure is an increase of 78% compared to the 8.12 billion, which is the expected total for this year, 2019. So anyway, these forecasters do what they do, don't they? And if you,
Mhm.
but I don't know where, if this was a weather forecast, I'd tell you not to bother. But it's not a weather forecast, so maybe this kind of forecasting is a bit more accurate. Anyway, sort of exactly what it has to do with a light bulb exploding, I'm not entirely sure. I must admit, anecdotal time here. There was an American program there. Well, it used to be on. It's called The Good Wife. It ran for a lot of
Oh yeah,
seasons
yeah.
of serial, and it was really good quality. There's a sequel to it, which we just started watching, called The Good Fight. There's three seasons of that, and it's different because time has passed and stuff and whatever. But it's got a wonderful opening sequence. If you see this picture we got on screen here with this article, well, yeah, apart from very haunting music in the opening, the titles show lots of objects like typewriters and telephones and things that you would find in an office, and they're all doing this thing, exploding in slow motion. So it's like a 3D exploding object slideshow with this haunting sort of classical music with, ethereal voices in it behind it. It's just different, very different, a very pleasant sort of way to spend the first minute or whatever you have to go through before you watch. Anyway, that was another digression. So I'm getting
Yep.
bad at
Yep.
the old digressions, aren't I?
Yep.
Okay, Slash Gear, this site. Slash, as in the guitarist, or cutting a hole with a knife, kind of slash, slash, yeah. Um, Unpleasant thought, really. Slash. Gear. So slashgear.com. SLASHGEAR.com. And Calcom. Snapdragon XR2 platform puts 5G in mixed reality glasses. This is whether it's actually a milestone or just a milestone for this company. I'm not quite sure. But 5G is pretty damn fast. And this is supposed to be the first mixed reality platform with 5G, aiming to bring ubiquitous connectivity to augmented reality and virtual reality headsets and smart
Hmm.
glasses. And this headset is not going to be mistaken for a sleek set of sunglasses, but the features might well make it worth it. Yeah, it looks more like skiing glasses. I mean, it is still better than one of those headsets. So, the motorcycle helmet type jobs. Um, anyway, it's a bit of a PR article, this, in some ways. It gives you graphs of performance gains and compared to the previous Snapdragon and stuff like that. Um, 8K display. Um, that's a lot.
That's 4K for each
Anyway,
eye.
yeah, I guess. So that's good. That's pretty damn good for something that's on your eye. And yeah, that's a side view. I mean, I wouldn't say no to wearing some of those, not all the while, but I much prefer that to an Oculus gadget. Um,
Hmm.
you know, um, so and I think earlier on up there it did mention the well, they're gearing for augmented reality, but I think they mentioned virtual reality up there somewhere too, or maybe just the interest in. Certainly, the lenses there are translucent, probably a dark translucency, which would project the AR information over the top. Anyway, they look quite nifty. Anyway, so yeah, that was announced a couple of days ago, December 5th. So what's that? Yeah, 2 days ago, so not long ago. So find out more about that at slashgear.com. That's SLASHGEAR.com. Or follow my Twitter feed and follow the link directly. Right, this is another. Okay, I'm going to have to read this one out if you don't go to Twitter and follow it. It's WRALTECHWIRE. So that's Tech Wire, but preceded by the letters WRAL, which presumably stands for something. In fact, it's what you see there. WRAL Tech Wire and then .com on the end. And its article is, I bet you it's a medical thing or something at the com. Virtual reality could help stroke survivors with therapy sessions, a study finds. We're reading a lot about medical uses of VR at the moment. Um, this is, for stroke victims or stroke sufferers and therapy, basically. Raleigh, wherever Raleigh is. Virtual environment for rehabilitative gaming exercises called Verge. It's a software package that makes use of Kinect motion sensor to track the movement of patients and therapists. And system developed by University of Illinois at Chicago, by the look of it. Anyway, if you want more about that, make a note of that. Make a note of that address and add a .com to the end of it, and follow the link. It was December 4th, so it's a couple of days ago, and it tells you all about it there. All right, moving on. VR Focus, yes, so another one from them. This is rather interesting, or maybe not actually that surprising. Um, Oculus's app for sculpting, in other words, building and doing stuff inside an Oculus environment, has been sold to Adobe. I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh God, big capitalist giant Adobe, they're going to corrupt this and everything." But I've got to admit that over the years, ever since the mid '90s when I used to teach Photoshop, I've been a soft spot for Adobe. I'm afraid. Their software does tend to be good, and it does make sense that Adobe would have wanted to acquire. They normally acquire things at a much earlier stage, whereas this is fairly well developed already. Um, but they would want, given their brief with design and stuff like that, they would really want some kind of authoring software for up and coming 3D worlds, and this would seem to be it. Um, Also, I don't think that what you do with it is, well, maybe using it is you use it in Oculus, but I guess it could be ported to other headsets. And the end result of what you create while you're in it would not necessarily be limited to Oculus either. So, yeah, it sounds to me like they've got a state-of-the-art 3D modeling um, program. Um, Yep. Anyway, it's actually called Medium, the actual product that they bought, and they say there is some doubt over its future as a freely accessible app because it's sold on the Oculus Store at the moment for about 23 British pounds, but it does come free when people buy Oculus Touch. And it comes free with the Oculus Rift, whereas it's unlikely to remain free once it's part of Adobe's Creative Suite.
Mm-hmm.
But that's life. That's the future. You pays, and you pays. And you don't always get either, but that's beside the point. You pays and you pays and you pays and you still don't get. Right. Okay, so congratulations to Adobe for acquiring that thing. Right. Doctor Avatar and Therapy in the Virtual World. This is Elaine Wing. ELAINEEWING. Um, that's, I guess, her name. Um, Interesting photo there. It looks like a processed. Dad, just don't think that's an avatar. I think it's a processed photo. Her byline there says facial CGI and VFX bridging the uncanny valley. So anyway, virtual reality is a technology that could actually allow you to connect on a real human level, soul to soul, regardless to where you are in the world. That's Chris Mill who said that. And anyway, she's written a little bit about that, and you can particularly. She mentions preferred healthcare who are operating a study using Second Life and avatar therapy in Second Life. Actually, this seems to be more about Second Life there. I think, oh, I see. Let's think of Melville. Visiting his post traumatic stress experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. And there's, yeah, of course, there's a video that they've got in there. Some therapists, including a family healthcare, are moving out of platforms like Second Life to platforms like OpenSim, which is an open source platform that simulates user interface content scripting functionality at Second Life, but has walls in place to protect patients' privacy as it serves as an intranet app. So, an example of OpenSim here actually being used internally to um, whereas we think of OpenSim and the hypergrid as wonderful open expanse, these people are actually using it for the exact opposite reason because it offers them controls to be completely private away from the big public Second Life world which they were using before. And there's another video there that's actually showing the one in Second Life, so I probably posted that long before anyway. So anyway, that's Elaine Wing, WordPress.com. It's not written on screen anywhere, is it? So ELAINEWING.WordPress.com. And of course, Malburn's on Twitter has the link you need to get to that as well. Just a click away, as they say. Right. Now, I mentioned the trick you can use following Twitter to get to Medium. That actually, in order to reload this and the next post, that's exactly what I did. I followed the link I'd already put on Twitter to come back here so that they would actually load. Oh, how devious we are. Right. Designing safer social VR. Um, well, there's got the Medium logo here. It's a subsite of Medium, so you can go to Immerse News. That's IMMERSE dot news. NEWS. You don't need to put medium into this at all. Um, right, using the ideology of sexual consent to make social VR a better place. Michel Cortez, whose name seems very familiar, though I can't actually place it offhand. Um, as it says, new worlds, old problems. It's very well worth pointing out that this is the case with the web too. I mean, despite the nightmare it's become, sometimes I just want to shut down everything and run away from the mess that online commerce has put us in. But you know, rule of thumb basically is, if it's illegal in the real world, it's illegal online, and if it's risque in the real world, it's probably risque online. But the same rules overuse in the real world seem to transpose. I mean, obviously there are cultural differences around the world in the real world, but it's that Who song. What's it? It's got the line in it. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss,
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. Uh, take a bow for the old revolution, take a bow for the new constitution, or something like that. Pete Townsend doing his thing as usual. Um, Much is the same. So as she points out here, new worlds, old problems. What else can you say, really? But obviously, this is serious. She has got a picture there from Rec Room, of course, and she covers VR chat and mentions the Jessica Outlaw study of about a year ago, um, reporting that nearly half of female identifying VR participants have had at least one instance of virtual sexual harassment. And while these cases are unique in the broader harassment landscape, they're a notable facet of the emerging market too. It's obviously this the slant of this article is mainly concerning women, of course, but I mean the general gist of it can be applied there too. Um, for men, yeah, yeah, it's there for men. I must admit, back oh god, about when were well over a decade ago, I was very new in Second Life, and some guy quite literally knocked me to the floor and jumped me. Now, obviously, it's no physical damage. Even the avatar wasn't particularly damaged, but the psychological effect of this guy, I mean, a guy humping me, he was a male avatar, uh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact he managed to use some kind of griefing tool to knock me over, psychologically, it had that kind of, yeah, bloody cheek. That's my reaction. But I can see that, you hear stories of people who get so scared of something in Second Life that they forget they can log out, which is a very simple thing to do. But the emotional impact of what's happening takes over, and you just forget you can just log out. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, codes of conduct and all sorts of things here. A bit technical, as these things go, but private space and all that. That looks like a Facebook Horizon. Well, if anything needs it, it's
Uh,
going to be a
it
Facebook.
still looked like. Oh,
It
was that
looked like VR chat or not,
a
or
rec room?
no,
Oh no,
alt space.
Space. Yep.
But just say, yeah. Well, I'm actually getting by the text. Like images, Facebook Horizon. Yeah, it
Okay.
is. Yeah. Yeah, another one of these worlds where nobody has anything below the waist, which is probably wise in the case of Facebook. Yeah, anyway, so you will find that at immerse.news. That's it. There's no com or code. The news is the suffix there. And that post was by Michelle Cortez. And actually, the post is way back on November the 2nd. So that must have come up to my radar a bit late too, but interesting article it was. So for my Twitter feed, or go to Immerse News and look back. Safer VR or something, probably find it for you. Oh, go away, notificational thingy fuckers. Right, sorry. Wait, language.
It was quiet.
Yeah. Okay. Now this one, Medium again. This time we are at Medium, which of course has the paywall if you're on board your third article. Um, is virtual reality the future of social media? Medium.com, medium.com. And this post was, again, it's an old one, July 9th. I must have been, I think I must have been in the week somewhere picking up catching up on some links. And obviously haven't caught up on them for a while.
Hmm.
Also, of course, I get newsletters from Medium and things, and they do tend to send the articles they think are of interest, but they don't actually say whether they're this week's articles or whether they're years old. You know, they filter the articles by your interests rather than the date they were posted. So it could have been something like that. So, future of social media, and is it virtual reality? Um, they look into it, basically, how to implement it. Facebook's prototype sensors. What a strange looking chair. That does look like a virtual chair, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Right. How pop culture does it? Okay. Quite a bit to read there if you're interested. Medium.com for that article. And remember, you'll have to look back to July for the article, and Manish Ash Utosh is the author. In particular, if you want to read this, I would go to my Twitter feed and follow the link, which was just a few days ago. Right. That Facebook again. This is a site called The Motley Fool. Fortunately, their web address is simply The Fool, or rather, it doesn't even have the fool in it. It's www.fool.com. And do you really want me to smell fool? No. It's on the top of the page there. You can work it out for yourself. It's a four-letter word. I can't use that on air.
Mm.
Well, cough, cough. Right, Facebook is on $1 billion AR VR buying spree. This is fresh, fresh off my feeds at least today. It's dated December 7th, and yep, they're looking at Facebook, basically the greed machine, the everything machine. Even the Zuckerberg, I think, is a droid of some sort. Um, It bought Control Labs, it bought Oculus, and now it's bought Beat Games, which we mentioned last week. They tell you who Beat Games is, and they talk about how it's all fitting together, and uh, Facebook getting ahead of the competition. Their shopping spree is no coincidence, etc. Okay, so if it doesn't depress you too much and you can stand reading about Facebook, then you can go to the fool. No, sorry, fool.com. That's it, fool.com. It's very tempting to say the fool, isn't it? It's one of those
Hmm.
words that feel like it needs a THE in front of it. Anyway, and it's spinning a bit there. Okay, and this is the last one that again came in today. Um, Eureka alert. This is as you see it written there, but without the exclamation mark, and then it's a .org. So it's eurekalalert.org, and it's a news release from today. Virtual reality illuminates the power of opioid-associated memories. Now, this is really just a you know, Dr. Sidney Williams from the American College of Neuropsychopharmacology doing his bit, really, but quite interesting nonetheless. Um, uh, Mice playing an immersive virtual reality video game were taught to associate a specific room with morphine. And it's all about triggering morphine seeking behavior, but then they're using it in all sorts of chemical aspects too. Basically, they're looking at opioids, which I never know the definition there. I mean, obviously, opium and heroin come under opioids, but also over-the-counter painkillers. Half of them are opioids. So in America, particularly, there's a major, you know, epidemic of misuse of
Hmm.
these things, some of which are perfectly legal. But it brings in the money, 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 doesn't it? So they don't necessarily take much care until they get dead, dead, dead. Right. Sorry, I'm being flippant there, but anyway, that's the last. Yeah, that's the last post from there. I'm just going to do a quick swap over here to Metaworld News to see if we've got anything in that feed. Um, we do have a number of pointers there to the OpenSync Community Conference, which is actually where our outside broadcast today is actually from their region. Um, Most of it is load test, which was yesterday, and and various stuff. Go to conference.opensimulator.org to find out more about it. For example, the what's on and stuff like that. We may be coming to you with a special program on very shortly, actually after this is over. Looking at that, but it depends on whether the guests we're expecting turn up. Um, but if you go to that site, conference.opensimulator.org, you can find the agenda and all sorts of background information and everything else. And it is, of course, happening next Saturday and next Sunday. As a result, next Sunday, we will probably not be here in this form, i.e., the news, because this exact time next week, I'm hosting a panel, which is, well, the particular panel I'll be hosting at this time next week is actually about two separate companies who are making use of the open source version of High Fidelity, which should be very interesting
Hmm.
indeed.
Yeah.
And we on the Saturday panel, I'm doing another one which is looking at. We'll be talking about Sciencebase a bit, but particularly Mozilla Hubs, which of course is VR on the web and a sort of modern successor almost to VRML. Anyway, and lots more happening at the conference too, of course. So yeah, that's that. In Sciencebase as well. Have 2 days ago, they've issued some release notes. Their latest version is 219.1b39 and improvements to loading, new skin aging sliders, and yeah, all the new stuff that's in there. Viewer fixes and new viewer features. Quite a lot of stuff, I've got to admit. So if you use Sciencebase, you will probably need to update there and a good summary of what is new. Um, Hypergrid Business, a couple of days ago, they are reporting on Discovery Grid. They have a winter market that opened yesterday, and it will be open until January the 27th. So if you go to discoverygrid.net, the port is 8002, and the region is called Seattle. Yeah, it's just
Hmm.
like the one in the real world, eh?
Yeah.
So winter market, and it's obviously a hypergrid kind of event, pictures, whatever there too. Um, and yeah, I think that was it. Oh yeah, actually, this is old news. I still love this headline. We covered it last week. Oh, that might sound odd, but actually, in some ways, that was a cause for celebration. But enough of that. We've covered that already. So I think we're done. I think we're done, and we better check whether we got some guests arrived for our show, our other show. So James, any quick thoughts on all that stuff from this week?
I like the two articles. One asking, is the future of oh, I forgot what the subject was, but is it VR? Is it AR? And then the next one,
Yeah.
Facebook buying up everything in sight about VR.
Yeah.
So I think there's an answer in there someplace.
Yeah, the future is yes if you like Facebook, and no if you don't want to do
Right,
anything to
right.
do with Facebook. Yeah. Oh well, yeah, very very true. We will find out in the end. So I don't know. No disruptors come along now and again.
That's
So
right.
about time we had a major
It's
disruptor.
time for a disruptor, right?
Yeah, a major disruptor, something that brings down everything existing and starts new. A revolution, in
A
other words.
revolution.
Except a revolution implies getting back to the start, so maybe we want. Never mind. Okay,
Well,
folks. Well, we will be back here again, but in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. So if you watch us live, that is Sunday at noon. Sorry, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And we're always available for replays throughout the week or whenever you want, really. You can replay us next century if you want over on YouTube, assuming YouTube's still here in a century. But that's
wow.
again, I'm digressing, aren't I?
To
Anyway, it's
imagine,
goodbye.
right?
Yeah, I know. Anyway, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
Yeah, so it's goodbye from us, in other words. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. But we will see you before then if you come to the conference. So any which way, but whatever, really. Have a good week or fortnight. Bye. And he goes out with a fizzle.